What's up, guys and gals of the movement world? It's Sean Mishka, the Movement Miyagi, coming to you once again on behalf of Football Beyond the Stats and another movement skill short story this week for week 15 of the 2025 NFL season. And today we're going to look at the abundance and adaptability of one of my very favorite movers in the entire National Football League, Bijan Robinson, running back of the Atlanta Falcons. And with Bijan, it's somebody that I've studied very, very closely over the years from his time from Texas all the way now to Atlanta, and really trying to dive into what makes his movement skill tick. And for me, it really does come down to that abundance. Having a lot of ways to be able to solve similar movement problems and make adjustments and adapt those respective movement strategies and solutions to functionally fit the needs of the particular peculiar problem. And today we're going to see a couple examples of that from Bijan Robinson as we look at his game on Thursday Night Football on Week 15 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So without further ado, let's get into a few of those plays and then think about what we might be able to do simply in our own learning environments to allow and channel this type of adaptability and dexterity to emerge. So Bijan Robinson here, number 7, split out, or to the left-hand side here of Kirk Cousins, former Minnesota Vikings quarterback. And they have been using Bijan Robinson in all different kinds of ways. One of the most dangerous ways to do it is to get him in space. And it's not going to look like very much here on the surface. But when we really get into it, we're going to see what channels this type of adjustability and adaptability of these movement strategies. So one more time through at 100% speed here. Bijan Robinson putting this cat on skates, just making a miss from left to right and leaving a guy empty-handed. Let's get into it. 50% speed here before we go on to our second play. And I just want you guys to kind of think about how typically people, at least running back coaches, or maybe running backs themselves, will train this type of movement action, right? Going from left to right with this little nifty jump cut. What is it actually attuned and adaptable around? Or what is Bijan Robinson, rather, attuned and adaptable around? Obviously, it's of this cat right here who is bearing down on him really, really rapidly, changing interpersonal distance really quickly, and how that dude is positioned and what his posture tells him as soon as Bijan Robinson gets his head up to see him. Look at how tight and close they are at this moment, yard and a half or so away from one another. In Bijan here, not in an overly technical position from a change of direction standpoint in the way that typically would be taught or advocated for, right? Like if somebody were going to do this type of jump cut from left to right at a cone or at a bag, this is not necessarily what you would write home to mom about. But it's the adaptability of how that strategy is implemented, how it is adjusted in relation to the true what is. And then Bijan Robinson, even with that little nuanced hesitation, that little deception that we're going to see from him, these are the layers in Bijan Robinson's movement skill that I geek out about. It's what we see from the upper echelon type of guys. These layers of perception, action coupling, and how it's connected to the what is that respective problem to become one with that problem. Bijan Robinson in open space, 1v1, there's nobody better in the NFL today. And we see it right here. Again, that's not the way you would draw it up, or you'd have him repeat that in indie drills and the like. But my suggestion to all of you listening today is that we do this more often in relation to a human across a variety of situations, meaning different spaces, different humans, different styles of humans, different styles of movers, right? And then we layer in the next movement problem as we see Bijan Robinson connect to, even with that hesitation to get my guy Antoine Winfield Jr., who I've known from the time that he was a little kid, hesitating in just getting a few more yards, getting all the meat that's on the bone here. Bijan Robinson doing exactly that. So don't miss the forest through the trees here. Watch this hesitation. Watch what it does to Twan here. Number 31, one of the best safeties doing it. And he just uses that to get a little extra to keep himself safe. Gets a bunch extra when we really look at it. Let's fast forward. Let's see here. Where am I at? 144, I think, somewhere in that vicinity. Yeah, here we are. Let's get back to 100% speed. We talked about how Bijan is being used in a lot of different ways. Again, getting him in space, 1v1, in open space, out at the boundary, or out near the numbers, in any number of ways, is the calling card of Bijan Robinson. But dexterity is really about being able to solve any emerging movement problem across situations and across conditions. And Bijan has started to show that evolution. We see it across situations. We see him slicing and slashing through traffic now. Let me get us back just a little bit. We see him slicing and slashing through traffic. Look at the move, right? And let's compare it and think about what we just saw. Okay. Again, adjusted and adapted, going from right to left now, going back into the teeth of defense, going back to the middle of the field, going back between the hashes in chaos. Entering the chaos. Bijan is not afraid of the chaos. Now, this is a play right before, but we'll let it play through. Bijan is not afraid of the chaos because he relies on that abundance that he has and possesses within his movement toolbox. And I'm here to advocate for the facilitation and channeling of this type of abundance through the practice activities that we can do really simply. Again, similar situation. Look at the dude coming in. Look at the dude coming in low, but coming in fast, closing that interpersonal distance so it's really tight. And we see the movement skill, the movement strategy that emerges. That jump cut now that before went in the other direction, we're now seeing Bijan Robinson back to the middle of the defense, looking from one movement problem to the next. Okay. And this is an easy thing that we can do in our own practice and learning environment, and we can scale complexity really easily. Okay. He's coming down to the bottom of your screen, moving in a way that resembles very closely, very similar to that which what we saw in the first play. But the jump cut is adapted. Okay, still going from right to left here in this way now. But look how it is adapted. And then he goes right in from one movement problem onto the next. One perpetually feeds into the next. Context conditioned variability. How we solve one movement problem perpetually feeds into the next movement problem that is there to be solved in our respective options or our opportunities to act, aka our affordances. And now Bijan, again, going into playmaker mode, 1v1. These are just slices, guys and gals. One slice to the next to the next. It's all slices and pieces of the same pie or cake. And then we see Bijan slice and slash his way through traffic accordingly. Easy ways for us to layer that in, and we're going to talk about it in a bit. Okay, attuned and adaptable. Again, let me get back one more time. Shoot, I could have taken it in that way. Interpersonal distance, posture and kinematics. He's only got one direction to go, but he's able to take in the information from that dude right away. Looks like he's going right down the numbers, draws that guy to the sidelines, cuts back to the inside and teeth of the defense, interacting with the what is really there that is going to flow into how it is that you can solve that respective problem. And let's see it from this other angle that they're going to show us here. Watch. See some of the things that I'm talking about, the adaptability and adjustability of movement strategies to the what is. You cannot practice this on a cone or a ladder or a bag or a dummy. Even if we see Bijan Robinson being required and forced to do that in Atlanta with his running backs coach and in his running backs room and in his indie drills, I don't believe that's what's channeling this type of movement strategy and solution because it's adjustable and adaptable to what's really there. And what's really there is alive, indeterminate, and unpredictable. And now we see the perceptions, cognitions, and actions all flowing into one another for Bijan Robinson as he does his thing. One more play here. Let me show you just for a little bonus. Okay. The hesitation, drawing guys in, this layered across situations, but now to get out into space in in a way that his skill can really flourish, even though we have seen it here in 2025 grow and evolve tremendously in between the tackles in this layered problem solving type of fashion. I'm going to stop sharing now. I'm going to go to a different screen and I want to show you guys how easy it might be to facilitate similar types of movement strategy employment and adjustability and adaptability of it. A simple 1v1 make a miss that you can do across situations. Okay. It may look very, very simple here. Okay. This is even narrower than the hashes. We can widen that out to where it would be, if I could get my drawing tool out here, my trusty Telestrator. We do this in any number of ways. We do it a lot, to be honest with you. Here between the hashes, even though I have this 1v1 right now drawn in a tighter space, more like phone booth type of movement, which I am big on. If you have listened to me here at Football Beyond the Stats and our movement plays of the week, okay? So we could do it hashes to 5 yards or hashes to 10 yards long. So hashes wide to 10 yards long. We could move that so it's between numbers and hashes if we wanted to. So if we draw another workspace over here, that widens it out ever so slightly. We could do it where it was numbers to sideline, and then that guy gets the ball in his hands as we saw from Bijan entering the space. So a bunch of different workspaces that we can do this same type, similar type of movement problem that we are presenting to the ball carrier. I will often start it early in our sessions. When I'm talking in March and April, in June and July, but early in our training sessions, 1v1, running back, tight end, wide receiver, quarterback, any sort of ball carrier in space, head up with a defender who is anywhere in that space. He could come from any different place and we would change that up. He could be where he is right here as we see him. We could have him here. We could have him here. We could have him there. Okay. But 1v1, really easy to repeat this process of solving these types of movement problems by changing what we are perceiving, how we are cognizing, meaning what we're intending to do, and what information is there to pick up that would then channel how it is that we might decide to act, and ultimately the adjustability and degrees of freedom of our motor actions. How the movement strategy is being adjusted and adapted to meet the needs of the problem. And in this case, the 1v1, this one guy that you have to make miss. Okay? So now, as we change those types of interactions and as we want to ramp up in complexity, let's say we're doing this in Indy, 1v1, we can have our running backs go against other running backs in this situation. Tight phone booth type of movement, just like we saw from Bijan Robinson. We could do it here. We could do it here. We could do it anywhere we want to, guys and gals. That's my point. It's across situations. And as we change the situations, it changes our intentions. As it changes our intentions, it changes our actions. You can hopefully see how it would perpetually feed into one another. Let's say we want to ramp up in complexity, as I mentioned earlier. Let me draw this workspace size. Let's say this workspace size is going same type of width as what we have drawn here, make a miss in a phone booth, but now we make it into more of a tunnel. and we might keep it in between the hashes as I have drawn. We might widen it out. We talk about those constraint manipulations right here in Enhancing Skill in American Football, my latest book, alongside of Tyler Yearby and Rob Gray. If you haven't picked it up yet, do so right now. Get it in time for the holidays. And then what you have here is a 1v1 plus 1, which will turn into a 1v2, right? Really, really quickly. So what we would do then is have this guy enter from the outside of the space so it quickly turns into a 1v2 and he's going to go wherever he needs to, depending on where this guy goes and how this dude in front of him interacts as well. So 1v2, one offensive player versus two defensive players. It's something we do a lot of because it starts to layer in that same type of perceptual capabilities that we talked about earlier and that I've often referenced. J.J. Gibson, perception as it gets skilled gets wider and deeper and richer and fuller. So the player themselves on both sides of that problem and solution dynamics begins to connect to these types of movement problems and the layers of them that we are seeing from Bijan Robinson right now. But hopefully that play from week 15, or those several plays rather from week 15, continue to show us what we can learn from the most skilled and dexterous movers currently playing in the National Football League. Abundance, attunement, and adaptability. It all flows into one another, and we're seeing it on full display from Bijan Robinson. Hopefully, it helps to inform what we might be able to do in our own practice design in the constraint manipulation that we would find there. So for week 15, I'm Sean Mishka, the Movement Miyagi. This is Football Beyond the Stats. I'll talk to you all next time.